Hello everyone, welcome back to another SwansCast match preview, and today I am joined by James from the WTID podcast. I've said that correct, yeah?
Yeah, the Wednesday Till I Die podcast, that's what it is, yeah.
Of course, that's what it stands for. Ahead of the game, Swansea City taking on Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday. The crunch match, you could call it. Both teams in the relegation zone currently, both teams looking for their first win of the season. I guess a summer change for both as well, but for different reasons. And both have similarities in the fact that it's not really worked out too well for them so far. So James is going to tell us today about what's going on at Sheffield. We all know what's going on at Swansea, and this game could be the one that makes things happen. Who knows? But I know plenty of people will be looking for some change if we don't get the result that we want on Saturday. But James, you obviously won promotion last season, so you would have been coming up to the championship full of optimism, excitement, but maybe it hasn't really gone that way for you. So I just want to start off by asking, what's happened in the summer at your club then? What's changed to be in the position that you are in now?
What's happened? What's not happened, I think you could say, to be honest. Look, last season was an absolute roller coaster of a season as well. You know, I think just after Christmas, we were nailed on for automatic promotion. We were probably going to win the title, and then the wheels fell off well and truly. Went to Forest Green and got beat by them, gave them their first win of the season, I think it was. Things looked really bad. But we went to Wembley. I'm sure everyone watched the comeback at Hillsborough against Peterborough. 4-0 down, 4-4 on aggregate after that game, then it culminated with beating Michael Duff at Wembley, beating his Barnsley side. We were buzzing. We were absolutely buzzing as a fan base. We were, we thought this is it. We've perhaps turned a corner because things have been, turbulent to say the least, with FFP, with points deductions, relegations, obviously down to League One, and things like that. But, we thought we'd turned a corner and things were going to be looking up. But we couldn't have been much more wrong, to be honest, because, the owner, a lot can be said about how the club's been run, and a lot of people want the chairman to sell the club. He had a disagreement with Darren Moore. Darren Moore walked. It was a mutual agreement. Some people may have seen what's happened after, and lots of statements that have come out and interviews and things like that. It's almost like we're expecting to see the Netflix cameras come out and there be a documentary on the club, because if there isn't, then it'd be all for nothing. But no, it's we've got a new manager in Cisco Munoz who's come in. Obviously, took Watford up a couple of seasons back. His CV doesn't look great, to be perfectly honest. There were question marks over him. He's brought in 11 new players. We've had 12 new signings over the summer. We even signed a player when we didn't have a manager. And you know what? Things have just all unravelled big time. And we've gone from being on a massive high after winning at Wembley to it's so low at the moment. I've got people telling me that they don't even want to go to the matches anymore. They're totally fed up. The prices are ridiculous for the tickets. I just can't believe how much has changed from I think it's like 110 days ago when we won at Wembley to where we are now.
Yeah, it seems crazy. And I watched you on the first game of the season against Southampton.
Yeah.
And I thought you actually didn't really look that bad in that game. I thought you might have been on to winning it at one point, but obviously I know Southampton went on to get the win there. But would you say that on the pitch has kind of gone downhill since that game? Is that like the first game of the season, maybe doing all right after coming up, and then?
I mean, we played Southampton at totally the wrong time. James Ward then gets sold straight after that game. They sold others as well, and now they're having a torrid time of it. And we've just kind of, like I said, played them at the totally wrong time of the season. And we can talk about transfer deadlines and things like that, and when they need to end and when they should end. And it is what it is, and things like that. But no, on the pitch, I think we've used something ridiculous like 21 players, 21 different players in the starting lineup, and we're only 7 games into the season. So Cisco clearly doesn't know what his best 11 is, and that's quite evident. For most of the season, we've been playing with most of the players that have been here last season. I think only only last week against Ipswich, 8 of the 11 that started were here last season. Fast forward to Tuesday night, and then 8 are the new signings, and only 3 from last season. So it felt last night like he was very much rolling the dice. And obviously, we've just been talking beforehand, and there's a lot of similarities between the two clubs in that, doesn't know his best 11. Formation is changing every single week. I've no idea what the style of play is that we're trying to do. And fans are getting frustrated, which is never always great. And there's no green shoots. And what I mean by that is there's nothing that we've seen that you think, what? I know what he's doing. He's trying something and it's working. It's different every single week. One week we're pressing, one week we're not. One week we're playing with a back 5. One week we're playing narrow. One week it's just changing every single week, and it's just, it must be confusing for the players. It's certainly confusing for us as fans. We have no idea what we're trying to do, and like you've said with how Duff's come across in the media, again, very, very the same with us. There's a bit of a language barrier. Cisco Munoz, it's not a very British name. It's from Spain. He does speak English, but some things get lost in translation, I think, and that's not when things aren't going very well. You can kind of rub people up a little bit the wrong way, and certainly with the local media, I don't think they're making friends at the moment. So it's a tough one, and things on the pitch look awful. It was slightly better last night. First half was great. The second half absolutely diabolical, and we're just some fans have had enough already.
Do you know why? I forgot what club you were talking about then. That's some of the things you said. I'm sure the people listening would have been very, very, very similar thought process when they were listening to you about what they've been feeling the last couple of weeks as well. So it's many
like a
similar
therapy
themes.
session, this one, Luke. It's like a therapy session, isn't it? You're talking about, and you feel, well, we're not alone with it.
I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll just work together on Saturday now, right? You score a couple of goals, we'll score a couple of goals, we'll get our forwards, have a bit of confidence up, then we'll do a bit of work on defending, get the goalkeepers to make a few saves.
It might work. Well, let's just shake his hands, let's have a point, and then just walk on.
We'll leave Middlesbrough down there, is it? But so you mentioned it's been a lot of signings. I just want to ask as well, did I see something about Lyle Taylor knocking about? Is there anything in that?
He's training with the club at the moment. He was there last night, just open, sat on the bench before, not during the game, but before the game kicked off, and they were quite open about it. Spoke in the media after the game. And he's training with the club. We have got one spot left in the 25-man squad. Momo Diaby, who started the season, he got injured. He's not been named in that 25-man squad. Nothing's been said of how long his injury is. So if Lyle Taylor does come in, that does mean that Momo Diaby, he's obviously not going to be fit enough to play until at least January. So there is a spot available. We do need something different up front. I'm not sure if Lyle Taylor is the answer, though, to be perfectly honest. 33 years old, not played any competitive football or club football anyway in over a year. So that does seem like a massive gamble. I know gambles sometimes pay off, but when you're at the bottom of the league and you're looking at 33-year-old strikers, I think you're scraping the barrel somewhat. Yeah,
I didn't realise he was 33. I just checked now. So I guess it makes sense why he's still a free agent. That really, when you look at the face of it, he didn't have the best time at Forest, did he? So, but you never know. Maybe it's something that could work out for you. Okay, looking forward then. I guess I'm not going to get much of an answer to this question, but what style of play do you expect to see from your team going into this game?
Yeah, like I said earlier, we're not really sure, to be honest. He's changed the formation that many times. One thing I would say is that we won't pressure. So if you want to knock the ball around the back, we're not going to entertain that whatsoever. We don't really press in the opposition's half. We'll wait until you come over the halfway line, and then we'll try and take the ball off you. Having said that, we went 1-0 up yesterday against Middlesbrough, and we retreated right to the 18-yard box in that second half, and almost gave them all the freedom and allowed them to get a bit of confidence, really, which was really frustrating to watch. Almost like we were just settling for the 3 points and the 1-0 win, rather than kind of going for that second or third goal, I guess. Yeah. Which is not great. I think Cisco likes to play on the counter attack. However, we then play against Ipswich, and all the pace is on the bench. We've signed some fast wingers, and they've hardly featured so far this season. So again, it's just very confusing as to kind of what we're trying to do. He's playing lots of players out of position. Tyreek Backinson came off the bench yesterday. He was a defensive midfielder, and he played in wide left in a front three, which he's never played there in his life. He's questionable at defensive midfielder role, but let alone playing up front. He tried his hardest, but he's a bit unfair to him, to be honest, and hung out to dry. So yeah, some of his decisions have been questionable to say the least. In terms of formation, we've used all of them nearly so far. 4-2-3-1. We've played a 4-4-2. We went back to a 5-3-2 or a 3-5-2, whichever way you want to look at it, which is what we played last season throughout the whole of last season with Darren Moore. So yeah, it's more than likely going to be a 5-3-2. I think mainly just because that's what we're familiar with. However, having said that, as I said earlier, eight new players started last night, so that doesn't really fit either. Again, as you can probably see, I'm just confused, and all the Wednesday fans are just confused as to what's actually happening at the moment.
Sounds a bit similar again. Don't know what sort of game plan we are offering, but maybe there's a bit more consistency with the personnel being selected. I would suggest at Swansea. Out of the players then, if you can you tell us what key players Swansea should be worried about from Sheffield Wednesday? I mean, you're saying there might be a lot of changes, but was there be anyone that sort of stands out or is on the team sheet all the time that we should be concerned about?
Yeah, I'll not talk about Barry Bannon. Everyone knows about him, to be fair. He was our best player 7 years ago, and he's still our best player, to be fair, which is just how far we haven't come in those 7 years. I think one that kind of stood out, one of the new signings, Paul Valentine. He made his debut yesterday, his full debut. He was thrown in at the deep end somewhat. He played in the cup, but he looked really poor, to be honest. But he played last night, and he plays as a right back. We played at right wing back last night, and he had their left back on toast. He must have beat him 5 or 6 times, getting to the byline and pulling the ball across. He was involved in the goal that we scored yesterday as well. Didn't get the assist, but some nice link-up play with Bernard, one of the centre backs who was bombing forward, and it was great to see. He's got a lot of pace, likes to carry the ball. That's something that we struggle with this season. His ball carries, we're just not doing that at all. I think if you look on FB Ref, we're just at the bottom for ball carrying this season, which is evident to see. It's not something that we've been doing. When you look at Southampton and how much they run with the ball, we're just stark contrast. But he tried that, and it's getting bums off seats, which is always nice. So he's certainly one that you should look at. Another one, if he does play, he scored yesterday, Anthony Masaba. I spoke about wingers. He's got bags of pace as well, and I think all fans just crying out for that, aren't they? A player pace that can take players on, and he's certainly that. Signed him from Monaco in the summer. He's not played for the first team in Monaco, but he's been on loan quite a few times. And when you look at like I said, signing someone from Monaco, there's been some great players that have come from Monaco in the past. Not saying he's going to be one of them, but he's certainly eyes that light up. He's just not really been given that much of a chance, to be honest. Another one, a bit left field, the goalkeeper, Davis Vasquez, signed him from AC Milan. Again, he hasn't played for AC Milan, but you can see why they've certainly snapped him up as one of their, 9 goalkeepers that they've probably got on their books. Yeah. A lot was said. We had Cameron Dawson, who came through the youth setup, had a torrid time, went on loan to Exeter, won promotion with them. Then Cameron Dawson came in, and we won promotion last season. Everyone thought, we're going to give him a chance in the Championship. Davis Vasquez has come in and kind of upset the apple cart to some degree, but you can see why he's coming. His shot stopping is fantastic, especially reaction saves. I don't think any of the goals we've conceded you could really put down to him. His ability to catch crosses could be questioned. The goal we conceded yesterday, you thought he could have come out and collected the ball, but having said that, he's probably kept us in some of the games. At Leeds, he made some fantastic saves, kept that at 0-0. Last week against Ipswich, the scoreline, if you said we'd lost 5-0, it wouldn't have flattered Ipswich. But again, Vasquez made some important stops there. So yeah, fingers crossed he's on form on Saturday and he can keep his second clean sheet of the season.
Well, I hope not. I hope he doesn't keep a clean sheet. But sounds like you made some interesting signings, and maybe a little bit of time, and they'll start showing what they can do going forward. But yeah, definitely some big club names there you mentioned in from where they've come from. So there's always potential, isn't there, when you looking into these areas to see what players haven't quite made it yet that could still have an impact, especially in the Championship.
You can add Gassama into that 19-year-old signing from Paris Saint-Germain. Once had a photo taken with Lionel Messi. He hasn't played for Paris Saint-Germain, but that's where we've got him from anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So that means he'll be back there in a couple of years because he's got to that level.
Fingers crossed. That means he's playing well for us.
Yeah. Okay, let's flip the question then. So from what Swansea players that you're aware of will be worrying to you for Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, what Patino is one that kind of stands out for me, obviously from Arsenal. I've heard some big things about him. He's only 19, but he certainly looks like he's got the pedigree already. And I've seen that he's done some. He's got a couple of assists for you already so far in the season. In a side that's not really performing that well. Got some contacts at Blackpool, and they said some good things about him last season as well. Again, in a side that kind of struggled somewhat. Another one to kind of pick out, would be who is it now? I mentioned him on Jerry Yates.
Yates, yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned Jerry Yates. I know he's struggled a little bit, but again, the links with Blackpool that said someone that when in the summer transfer window, he's someone that I picked out as a potential signing that we could make. And obviously, yeah, when he signed for you boys, a bit disappointed in that. I don't think it was really a target for us, but it's one that I've seen he's done well in his career so far, and I thought he would fit right in at us. So yeah, those are two that I would be a little bit fearful of. Having said that, look like us. You've not won a game so far this season, so we could be fearful all we want. I'd like to feel like we could go inside his game and have all the confidence that that you boys haven't got much confidence.
Exactly. So I think it's the same for both teams, isn't it? Like, you're both going up against opposition that's struggling, lucky for their first win. So if you're the fan of either team, you want your players to go and take that by the scruff of the neck and show that they are capable. So we're both hoping that we'll be the ones to do it. We're at home, so I guess you'd argue more pressure on us to be that team. And I guess the manager will feel that as well if it doesn't go his way, as we just mentioned on your channel too. But, whatever happens, I think Swansea go behind. Hostility awaits Michael Duff. I'm sure you'll be happy if your season gets going as a result of his misfortune. So, yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. It's one of them games that you kind of are, but also not looking forward to.
Yeah, we're kind of hoping that our season could turn around a bit similar to what you said, really. I think there'd be a section of the fan base that, if we do lose and the manager does go, they won't be too disheartened about, which is a bit sad to say, really. You always want your side to win, don't you? Having said that, we're then entrusting the chairman to sign another manager, and it's clear that Cisco Munoz was kind of brought in on the cheap, really, with things that have come out after Darren Moore's exit. So it's a bit of a lesser of the two evils, really. What we want really is for everything to start clicking, playing good football, winning football games, and I want whoever the manager is to succeed. But the problem is I just can't really see that happening, which is again quite disappointing to say.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think for Michael Duff, I don't want to write him off as a manager, but I think half the battle is to get involved in the club, the community, the fans, and he's more than lost that battle so far. So he's just made it so hard for himself to come back, even if he pulls performances around the next couple of games. He's got that extra level now to rebuild those relationships, and hasn't helped himself, definitely. So I hope he does it. Of course, it'd be great if he goes on a 10-game winning run now and shuts everyone up. And I'd be the first to eat my words. I'm sure a lot of people would, but we'll wait and see. We'll see what happens Saturday first, and we'll go from there. One last question then, James, that I'd like to end on with all of these match previews. A little bit of a funny one, if you like, not really football related, but when you do go to a stadium, what would be your favourite pint to drink?
I'm more of a cider person. So yeah, Aspel's is probably the tipple of choice, to be honest.
Yeah.
And to wash down maybe a steak and kidney pie or something like that.
Sounds good. I'm a cider person as well, so I do enjoy an Aspel's. I like Thatcher's as well. Be my other one that I go to quite often.
Any cider. I'm not that particular. I know there's some people that have to have, they get quite annoyed when they've not got their particular drink on the tap. But no, I'm not like that. As long as it's wet and cold,
Yeah.
I'm all right. And I mean the drink and not the weather, by the way.
Plenty of that down in Wales. The weather, of course. Hopefully, it's not so bad. I don't know if you're making a trip down your Saturday, but
I'm not. But the other co-hosts, they're going to be heading down, which spending their hard-earned cash traveling.
Yeah.
They were down in Cardiff not so long back. They're making that trip again. So fingers crossed we can have a better result than what we did against your arch rivals.
Let's not talk about them. It's not a good time at the moment. But but thanks for joining me. I wish him best on his travels down here, although I hope he has a miserable journey home. Miserable but safe journey home. It has been quite stormy down here this week, so I'm hoping that it goes back up to Sheffield with you when your away coach leaves. But other than that, good luck for the rest of your season. I do hope that you manage to turn it around and find a way to stay in the league. Although I haven't said that, I also hope that we manage to do the same. So.
Yeah, great stuff, Luke. Thanks for having me on, mate. Do really appreciate it. Always good to chat to other fans of other clubs and share our woes as we have done. And like I said, it's not just us that feel like you do. You know what I mean? The same way.
No, of course. And if you want to maybe tell everyone where they can find your content, if they want to go and check out any of the pre-match stuff or post-match, if you want to go and check into how they discuss the game afterwards.
Yeah, we're just a traditional audio podcast, so no YouTube for us, unfortunately. But yeah, we're on all the podcasting platforms. Just search for the Wednesday Till I Die podcast, and we're just at WTID Pod on all the socials. We're quite vocal on there as well, so go and give us a follow. Record our podcast on a Sunday night, ready for everyone to listen on a Monday morning. So win, lose or draw, you'll be able to listen to what we say about the game on Saturday.
That's good. Better than us. We don't have any sort of consistency, but there we go. Go check out the Wednesday Till I Die podcast, and thanks, James, for having me on your podcast earlier on, and for coming on for our match preview as well. And I'm sure we'll catch up with you later in the season. Hopefully, we'll be having different fortunes to discuss.
Fingers crossed. Cheers, Luke.
Thank you very much. Hello, and welcome back to the match preview for Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday. The crunch game, as everyone is fully aware of. I've just been talking to Stevie over on his channel. So welcome in, Stevie. Stevie's from the Wednesday Week podcast. So if you'd like to let us know where we can find all of your content.
Yeah, mate. Thank you for having me on. You can find us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Insta, Twitter, or X as it is nowadays. We're on YouTube as well. I'd say the prominent one. Search us on YouTube for the Wednesday Week. Find us on X, Twitter at TWWcast. We do put out content 3 shows a week. We'll do a preview show, as you just said. We've done one view before we've recorded this. We do a match review, and we've got a little bit of a side hustle going on this season where we actually sit down and talk one-to-one with fans of the club from different backgrounds to sort of get their feelings and their journey as a Sheffield Wednesday fan and how they became fans of the club, and we call that My Wednesday. So we're doing three shows a week on average. We've also got an alumni show. We call it Ours Alumni, where we manage to sit down and talk to ex-professional players, ex-players of the club, and sit down and interview them. Recently, we've had Gordon Watson, who played in the Premier League for us, Carlton Palmer, and through lockdown, we've had some of our more famous players from the early 90s, and that's always been a really good laugh as well.
That sounds like a good show to listen to, and I like the idea of the fan one as well. It's something I haven't heard about before, so sounds quite cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, go check out Stevie and their content. I know you said there's a couple of others of you that contribute as well to the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm one of 8, so we work on a lot. Yeah, we need a lot because we do a lot of stuff.
That's fair enough. We're stretched. We as me and myself, and I got one other co-host, and
Yeah,
always. I mean, 8. That's a lot. That's a lot. Jealous. But
yeah.
let's.
The group chat can be quite busy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, brilliant. So yeah, we'll get into it then. So as the guys know that are watching this, we're looking at the opposition. We're trying to get to know the opposition. So there's only one place to start with: Sheffield Wednesday. The summer. What sort of changes have been over the summer at your club? And I know probably out of all the clubs we've done this with so far, one of the biggest amounts of change. Probably not for the good reasons either.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was on the local TV last night, and that was a similar question was asked, and I said to the reporter, if somebody had have held up a crystal ball, or if I could foresee what was coming, but we walked out of Wembley on that bank holiday Monday, and somebody told me that in the first 2 weeks of September we'd be the new manager, an entire new squad, a realisation that the chairman is as crazy as as we perceive him to be after all, and he hasn't got the money or the ability to put the money in that we believed he had when he told us at the parade, the promotion parade. I'd have called him crazy. As we said, we came out of Wembley full of euphoria. We had a fantastic season last year, and I know that there were times where our fan base was divided because we had a bit of a dip around about Easter time, February, March. But the reality is 96 points we got last year. We've gone on a record-breaking unbeaten run of 23 games. We've kept more clean sheets than we ever had before, and that was all under the watch of Darren Moore, who galvanised a fan base that has been much maligned over the last 15, 20 years. I think we're now one of, if not the longest Premier League team that has been out of the Premier League. We're getting relegated in 2000. There are so many teams that have gone up and sort of consolidated and stayed up there. We've had to endure the noisy neighbours growing up and coming in and doing their bits at the minute, and they're now the big brothers, if you like. As we said, the noisy neighbours. So yeah, it's not been a great summer. It's been one of uncertainty. Darren Moore walking away was totally out of the blue. Nobody could believe it when it happened. And then we fell into a state of not knowingness in terms of who would come in and replace him. And it actually took 3-4 weeks before we had a replacement, and we'd gone through rumours of Carlos, who you'll know, Carlos Caballo, was rumoured to be in Sheffield to meet with the chairman. We'd had Dean Smith allegedly lined up. There'd been one or two others that had been linked. And then out of the blue comes Chisco. And very charismatic he was, and he spoke really well at his first press conference, but that was dominated by a chairman who went on a rant about one of our ex-players that has not been associated with the club for the better part of 25 years in Carlton Palmer. And yeah, it's gone from there. We've not signed players until the last minute. We've not signed anybody of any sort of established credibility or credence in the Championship. We knew that we was crying out for strikers, and we've not done any business there really. And we've gone into the season worried, I think would be the best way. We knew we'd be playing catch up. We knew we'd be 4 or 5 weeks behind because we were 4 or 5 weeks behind in pre-season, but we didn't quite expect it to be as bad as it has been.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke obviously just now, and as much as we haven't had that much sort of unsettledness over the summer, we had a managerial change. But in terms of what the output is so far this season, there's a lot of similar themes between the two clubs. But I think your situation is far like there's more going on there, I think. And looking from the outside in, I can only hope that it manages to sort of smooth itself out soon. Because the thing is, you want a promotion, you want to be excited going into the next season, and you want to see if you can start well in the higher division, see if you can stay there. It should be a good positive thing, and I feel like that's kind of been taken away from the fan base a little bit. Is that something you agree with?
Yeah, 100%. I think we knew it was going to be difficult. We knew that there were going to be challenges, and only the most optimistic Sheffield Wednesday fan would have said that we're going to push on and aim to be the upper echelons of the Championship pushing for the playoffs. The pragmatic realists amongst us, of which I am one, although I'm optimistic, would have settled for a lower mid-table position. Even now, as we're talking, we accept that we're going to go on runs. If you're going to be down there and fighting to stay in the Championship, we understand that there are going to be runs similar to the one that we're on at the moment, but it's less the results and more the off-field stuff and the worry that comes with the off-field stuff that is causing such an unrest amongst our fan base at the minute, and it's not nice to be a part of, particularly when you go back to the point I was making earlier, particularly when you see the 96-point run, the miracle of Hillsborough, and then beating our local rivals Barnsley at Wembley in front of 70, 80 odd thousand people, and coming away from that and getting back up into the Championship after a couple of years out. We were expecting to be a little bit better off than we are, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay, so in the summer then, in terms of, you said there wasn't really many signings or they were late on. Is there any notable ones to speak about, or not really so much to shout about?
Well, we waited and we waited and we waited. The early business was done with a lad from Blackpool, Reece James, who was on loan at Sheffield Wednesday last year and had done
Not
really,
the one from
really
Chelsea,
well.
no?
No. He tends to stay fitter than the one from Chelsea. But interestingly, we've managed to be quite multicultural, multinational, I think would be the best way of describing it. We've done the lion's share of our transfer activity from Europe, from the continent, and we've signed a couple of players from big clubs. We've signed a goalkeeper on loan in Davis Vasquez, who is the third choice keeper at AC Milan. We've signed a lad called Anthony Masaba from Monaco, and then there's Jerry Gassama from PSG, who had all the fans raving, all the Wednesdayites raving, because the social media videos and clips had him, all the photos of him with Lionel Messi. He was playing in the same team as Messi last year in some sort of low cup exhibition game. He got 20 minutes with Messi, and all of a sudden we signed a world beater. I think our transfer activity has been a shift in that for all the good that Moore did, he signed some quite old players. We were a very old squad, and that playoff final was the oldest average age in League One versus the youngest, with us being the wrong side of 30, if I remember rightly. So we brought the average age of the squad down, and we've looked now to see from a sustainability point of view and a forward-thinking model. We've signed players that hopefully will come in and we can bring on and then hopefully sell for something of a profit. But it's just not clicking quite yet. The players that have come in, they seem to be the ones that we're most excited about. Late on transfer deadline day, we managed to get John Buckley over the line from Blackburn, who does have some pedigree at this level and have been caught in interest from a couple of other clubs. But I think there are ties as a fan. He's a distant Sheffield Wednesday fan, if you like, and has said that he wants to come there. He's got a similar agent to Barry Bannon. And I think Bannon's pulled some strings behind the scenes to try and coerce him into coming. So we're interested, once he gets settled, to see what he does.
Yeah. Do you think they'll settle into like the style then? So what sort of style do you expect to see? Or how do you expect your team to play in the match Saturday? And it was a tough question because you asked me the similar sort of thing and I couldn't answer it.
We'll play one up top, and that's all I can tell you. Chisco's got a style. He came in very much. We spoke a lot to Watford fans. We've looked at things that he's done previously, and it tended to be a 4-2-3-1 or an iteration of that. We did start with a 4, and the transfer activity that we've done has been with a view to putting a squad together capable of playing a back 4. We've signed wingers, although bizarrely he hasn't played any wingers. And things haven't been going for us, so I think he's reverted to type a little bit. The last couple of games we've gone to a 5, but it tends to be a bizarre, rather than a 5-4-1, it tends to be a variation of a 5-2-2-1. So we tend to play a couple of players off, a lone striker with 2 holding midfielders, and then a 3 in possession that becomes a 5 very quickly out of possession. And we don't have a lot of possession, so it's a 5 quite a lot of the time. But yeah, we sit in. He set us up to play on the counter. and we're finding our way with it. A little bit frustrating at times because we don't see much of the ball. We haven't created a great deal, but defensively, I have to say, although we've not been great defensively, we have been pretty solid. For all the possession that we don't have, we have been, other than one or two instances. I think Hull was one. We've been quite difficult to break down for all the possession that the teams have had, notably against Leeds. Leeds had a hell of a lot of the ball, and they've got some really good players, and we defended really well against them. So, I think we're better at the back than we are going forwards, but I wouldn't expect us to create a lot on Saturday.
So what key players do you think there are in your squad that we should be worried about on Saturday?
There's a question. The go-to is Bannon. He's our talisman. When Bannon's on form, he makes us tick, and it's about what's around Bannon, and that happens. The issue is we just don't know what side he's going to pick at the moment. It varies. He's changed it so much. We had a lad last year, for example, in Akinfenwa, who played left centre half of a back three, who started the season as a left back, who's now come back into a back three, and that sort of interchangeability of our back line has been endemic of the Xisco era, if you like. So Bannon can make things tick. Although he had been playing Bannon more advanced, he's more effective when he sits in a sort of a six role in that sort of central defensive midfield area, getting things ticking, making us play. He works well and links up well with Byers. And again, I know we've spoken on our podcast about the ability that George Byers has. A fully firing George Byers played in the right way, and hopefully Xisco is learning that will be our most effective player. He's got a bit of bite about him. He loves to tackle. He can try things that simple but effective, and he's very, very smooth in what he does. The other one is probably Josh Windass. Windass is a favourite of Xisco. He's played in a variety of positions, but seems to be one of the two that will be off the striker. Although he did get a knock last night, so maybe injured. But I'd certainly expect and hope that Bannon and Byers are in the middle of the park making things tick. The only other player that I think has really impressed us this season, has sort of stuck out, is the goalkeeper. The last couple of games has been absolutely phenomenal, and you can see that he's a Colombian international who's been away in South America recently. The last two games, he's been absolutely fantastic. Point blank saves, one-on-ones, kept us in the game at Leeds. Was outstanding against Ipswich, and although we lost that game, he pulled off 5-6 one-on-one saves. It would have been a cricket score without him, and I don't mind saying that that's a reality. I think your front line, if he's on form on Saturday, your front line are in for a long day to get any sort of success.
I hope not. We need to see some goals, so I hope he's not on form or isn't on the pitch. But George Byers as well, of course, we know all about him. So it'd be nice to see him coming back to the stadium, and I do hope he gets a good reception. I'm sure that he will. Flipping the question on its head then, what Swansea City players worry you going into this game that you think maybe could do damage against Sheffield Wednesday?
I think the one for us, and again, I can't profess to know a great deal. I'm interested to see from a distance Yates. He's carried a bit of money, and when I saw bits at Blackpool last season, I thought he looked like a player that when we were doing the rounds, sort of early pre-season, when we thought we'd have some money to spend, he was a viable option in terms of getting somebody over the line and sort of complementing either Michael Smith or Lee Gregory, a little bit younger, potentially goals. And we were also linked, I don't know how well he's done, we were also linked towards the end of the transfer window with Jamal Lowe. I don't know if he's somebody that has had much game time for you guys, but they were the two, as Wednesday fans, that I think we were probably the ones that we were interested in. But yeah, it's going to be curious, because I know you said you've signed 13 players. I'm just wondering which ones are the ones that we need to be looking out for. You mentioned the right back on our podcast. I'm hoping we've got somebody that can set up against him. Yeah, I'm hoping that we've got somebody that can set up against him, because those wide players that we play, or the players behind the striker, have been quite ineffective. So if we're going to be successful on Saturday, we really need somebody that's going to be getting after your back line.
Yeah, Josh Key, I did pick up a knock against QPR, so whether he'll feature or not is remains to be seen. I think I mentioned Charlie Patino as well, and on
Of course,
from Arsenal.
he's a glaring omission because I do like Patino. I do like the things I've seen and watching him as a young lad in and around the games that the game time he managed to get at Arsenal. Looks tidy. Looks like a player that potentially can kick on. So curious to see how he'll set up against our middle 2 or 3.
So whether he plays, he didn't play yesterday, so I would expect him to come back in. But he's got 3 assists this season. So, I mean, if he's going to be anyone to break down the lines and create some chances, he's the one that's done it so far. But like I said, we've gone 2 wingers in the last game, and Josh Ginnelli, somebody that came in, and Jamal Lowe on the other side. You mentioned Jamal Lowe. They were playing out wide yesterday. One assisted the other with a goal against QPR. So we know all about Jamal Lowe from his previous time at Swansea. Obviously, a deadline day bringing him back here. I know his contract's out with Bournemouth in the summer, so whether he'll stay here for longer, I'm not sure. He's not a striker, I wouldn't say, which is what he has been used as under Steve Cooper here as well. I think he is more of a winger, but Yates, who you mentioned, I think he needs to play off more of a conventional striker than someone like Jamal Lowe, and it didn't work when they played together against Cardiff. So we'll see who starts together.
And I think that sort of that dynamic that you've just mentioned there, playing off another striker, is what we need, and we haven't got. And although we don't,
it might have worked well for you then. I don't think we've seen the best from what we can out of Jerry Yates at the moment. He definitely got potential. He didn't score 2 goals in his early games for nothing, and I know he had a good season with Blackpool last year. It's just, I think he's a bit isolated at the moment with what we're trying to give him. So we'll see. Hopefully we can get better out of him as the season goes on. Okay, the last question I'd like to ask in these little pre-match videos is not football related, something nice to end on. And that is, when you go to a stadium, whether you drink alcohol or not, it doesn't have to be alcoholic, but what is your favourite pint to have at the stadium?
At our stadium or at any stadium?
Any stadium, if you could choose a pint or one you have had somewhere, what's been the best one?
We do a nice, Sheffield is, or Yorkshire is, it's renowned for its little breweries, and we're quite an up and coming city, although we're obviously well established in Britain. We do well with little micro pubs and micro breweries that have been blowing up over the last few years, and we've got one that produces an IPA called the Wednesday. So typical match day for me will be take my daughter down to the fan zone, get in, meet my mates and my family. I think there's about 8 of us that sit together. We'll drink a pint or 2 of the Wednesdays, a nice little IPA, nice little tipple that gets us in the mood for what was latterly a decent Saturday afternoon. At the minute, I'm drinking it to drown my sorrows. So.
There we go. Well, that's a good one. If I'm ever up that way, I'll have to keep an eye out for it and see if I can give it a taste. I'm not sure we won't have any of that down here. I'm pretty confident to tell you. But yeah, thank you very much. Cheers for joining me, Stevie. If you want to remind everyone where they can find your content, please.
Yeah, across all social media platforms, primarily Twitter, TWWcast, or you can find us on YouTube at the Wednesday Week. We've got pages on Instagram, Facebook, we're on Threads, we're on TikTok. Just search up the Wednesday Week, you'll find us. Lots of irreverent nonsense that keep us entertained when the football ain't great on the pitch.
And I'm sure we can say similar things anyway in terms of how both clubs are feeling. As I'm sure people have gathered through this whole video, that the clubs are actually in quite a similar place, it seems, going into this game. So we'll be interested to see how we come out of it the other side. Is one manager going to get sacked? The 2 managers going to get sacked? Or are they going to leave the fans suffer for some time longer? All will be revealed, I guess, after the weekend. But thank you for joining me, Stevie. And maybe we'll catch up with you later in the season. And we're not both in the relegation zone, but we'll have to see if we get that far.
Fingers crossed.
But yeah, thank you very much. As always, everyone, don't forget to comment below your expectations for the game. Do you think Duff will save his Swansea career? Or is a loss here to Sheffield Wednesday, where their season might get started, going to be in the nail in the coffin for Michael Duff at Swansea. I'm sure you got your fingers crossed. I don't even know. I think if I asked the Swansea fans, they probably want you to win just so we get a fresh start. But that is where the feeling is right now down here, and it's really sad to say that, but I think a lot of fans will take that option. Yeah. But yes, we shall catch you in the next video, and have a good evening.